I'm gonna hit start here in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so this game is really nice. It is often described as an action puzzle, and well, let's see. There's so much to explain, so where do I start? Maybe with the enemy variety. There's 10 different kinds of enemies, and some of them have different variants of different AI patterns and stuff. And these ones here are the Walkmen. All they do is just walk around. They're not threatening at all. The only way they can kill you is if you let them walk into you, which they actually won't even walk into you if they get up to you. They'll just turn. You have to walk into them. So yeah, not very threatening. So this is a really good time for me to explain all of the other things that are happening right now, like these tiles. The main way that this game works is that there's all of these tiles, and you need to flip the enemies into the walls to defeat them. And on the floor, we have all sorts of things. Like these star tiles, what they do is when you get 100 of them, they'll increase your life and your speed. And for every 100 you get, the speed keeps boosting until a certain point. I'm not sure when it caps off, but so it's just really good to collect those. I actually didn't know that when I first started running this, but it really changed a lot of my routing afterwards. There's these tiles that have sun faces on them, and they flip every other tile in the room, and that's really useful. It's basically what's used in most of the run, but there's other rooms where you need to strategize better, because they get really complicated with the different enemy AIs. Anyway, the round 10 of this palace doesn't have anything. It's just a cutscene here. And this lady here, in the Japanese version, the story is different. She's supposed to be your girlfriend, Jenny, and you need to save her because Quincy is, it's the name of your sister, and it's the Japanese version's namesake. She apparently gets jealous that you have only been spending time with your girlfriend and not paying her any attention at all, so she just kidnaps her, which I guess is a cool story. The US version changes things a lot and makes it more like a princess named Candy gets trapped in her dreams, and you have to defeat all these demons or whatever in them to save her or something crazy like that. But I kind of like the Japanese story a little more. Not that it really matters. The gameplay is pretty much the same. Anyway, this enemy here is called the Jumper. And they're a bit tricky to defeat because, well, they all jump around a little differently. Dang it. And as you can see, trying to hit them all with these can be a little tricky at times. That was a bit of a mistake, but it's going to be fine. But that's a good way to show, for example, how you want to time those very properly. And also part of why I routed my stars this way. I come into this palace initially with without any kind of speed boost, because one of the first rooms I do is better without it, because otherwise I'd miss sweeping them all at once. But then literally afterwards I wanted to be able to hit some of these other ones, which is a bit interesting, you know. Just a little more technical stuff going on. Now, there's these different varieties of them that we're seeing. You don't get to see too much of how these enemies behave in this run, unfortunately, but if we have any time afterwards, I would like to show off a few neat things, because this game has a lot of charm. But yeah, enemy AI is easily manipulated for most of them. Other ones are a little more tricky, but we'll get to those later. Anyway, that's the first boss stage that we'll see, and this guy, I don't know his name, but he's gonna reappear a few times with slightly different patterns. That one was pretty easy. You just move up and he follows you. Simple as that. Now, here at the Artist Palace, these enemies are really interesting. They're probably my favorites, but you don't get to see anything about why I like them in the run, so we kill them immediately. But what they'll do is they'll stop and they'll draw around on the tiles. And if they draw on those tiles, then you don't get to flip them at all. But it's really cute, though. They'll draw a bunch of different things, and some of their drawings will even come to life, and you have to defeat them too. But, yeah. Let me think. Something else worth mentioning, I guess, is these little tiles here. I don't think I've touched too many of them, but they send out shockwaves in whatever direction they're facing. So they're kind of like the sun tile, but just, well, not everywhere. And, well, they're definitely in handy, but I'm not really trying to touch them right now because starting in this palace, if you go on this route, underneath a lot of these other tiles are respawning tiles, and they'll just literally make more of these enemies appear after you've defeated them, which is not good at all, of course. If you finish a level and then uncover a respawn tile, what'll happen is the level will then start playing again, or rather, it'll just keep playing. It's honestly a little neat because the music will stop and then it'll start up again, like as if it was just like resuming. It's really cool. Alright. This next level here in the Artist Palace is very difficult most of the time. It's where most of my runs start to die. But we'll see if I can get a good pattern out of this. Alright, it seems like it's good so far. Alright, I got like the second best one. This is fine. But yeah, I don't know if I stressed it enough that enemy patterns are based on your movement. And it gets very, very like finicky later. Like you have to be very precise about where you're going on the screen, or else they'll do all sorts of things you don't want. And some of the enemies are still so problematic that that just might happen regardless. This game is very hard to be perfect at like every room, but yeah. These enemies are called the acrobats, and what they'll usually do is they'll jump when you approach them. So like, okay, some of them will jump when you approach them, and other ones will only jump when you try to flip them. So you have to try timing your flips on when they land. And we'll actually get to see those soon. But yeah, they're very simple. A lot of the AI is pretty dumb. Like they'll just try to walk up to you like that, and one of the neat things about being able to flip tiles is that you can flip literally, like, you can stand on the tile you want to flip and wait for them to walk onto it, or you can even flip tiles that are like a little bit away from you, like literally one tile over. Really useful stuff. These tiles here, which I don't think have appeared yet, are I don't know what I would call them. I guess flippers or whatever. They'll let you go back and forth, and you can smash into enemies to kill them. So one of the only other ways you can do, you can kill them. But it's really useful here because all of these guys are those types that I mentioned that will jump when you try to flip them, and it's just too annoying to do it any other way. And this is one of the only rooms where I can't avoid doing that, so I just come over here and make them do that. Real simple. This room used to be problematic in the past, but following this pattern, it's a lot better. The annoying thing about it is that, well, there's respawn tiles everywhere, and I actually might have, yeah, I messed up. That's fine, though. So basically, assuming I tried to flip them all, they would just keep coming, and it would be really annoying. Like, if you try to flip them, they'll jump, but then there's also a tile under them, so another one will come out, and it just gets really messy really fast. So, yeah. This is the first boss stage that will use the enemies from the palace you're in, but with harder AI. However, I made it look pretty easy, but this used to be one of the other run killers for me at some point because the method I tried to use was just really complicated, and so I really like to do it that way. But yeah, definitely helps out a lot to study AI behavior in this game. These guys are called plumps, and they're kind of like, they're a little like sumo wrestlers in a sense. Like you could see that maybe soon. If you try to flip them, what they'll do is they'll kick the floor and send a shockwave down that direction that can flip you. Not gonna give them the chance to do it if I can help it, but yeah. At some point, we'll see a variant of them where they'll bounce around when you flip them, so you need to flip them multiple times, because if you don't, you'll let them crash into the floor, and then they'll just send another shockwave around. a lot of learning this game was memorizing where all these different tiles are, and then learning enemy patterns. But it's pretty fun. I definitely recommend playing this casually. Should anybody look into it. But yeah. So these are those ones that you need to flip twice, but in this stage it's easy to just kill them that way. I do have to wait though before doing that, because otherwise one of them will go past the wall he's supposed to get slammed into. This room also used to be very troubling because of the pattern that you need to go through here. But that was very fine. It's pretty much just right. This is the first boss stage that we'll see with Quincy in it, who I mentioned is the main character's sister, and it was pretty easy to abuse her AI. What she'll try to do, if you get too close to her, is she'll jump over you, and she'll always attack by trying to turn you into one of the enemies. It's usually of the palace that you're in, but sometimes it's a random one. Let me see here. These ones are ballerinas. Pretty simple. They're not very intimidating at all. All they do is just go around the room crashing into stuff. Sometimes their AI will make them come at you, but they're not ever really directly aiming for you, so a little weird to explain, but I shouldn't die unless if I make some weird mistake. Like that. That was a bit of a goof, but it's fine. Misspaced my flipping a little bit. Ah, man. Alright. Not reacting very well to that, but it's fine. There. Anyway, something I don't think I've mentioned with those little tiles that change rapidly. Or did I mention that? I don't remember. But regardless, those little tiles, they have a 10 star count tile on them, which you can't get anywhere else. And they're really useful for adding to your star count. So what you usually need to do is you'll cover them up and then uncover them so that it restarts from the beginning, and it makes it a lot easier to get it. But they try to trick you sometimes by hiding respawn tiles underneath them, so you try to uncover it to get the 10 stars, and you end up making another enemy appear. It's very annoying. These are some of the only ballerina that will come like directly at you, but they're still not like on point. So yeah, no problem. These guys are the swimmers, and they're literally my least favorite enemy in the game, because casually they are very annoying. If you don't know where any of these sun tiles are, it's just a nightmare trying to fight them, because what they do is they'll swim across all of the tiles on the ground until they reach a solid block, and then they'll get up and then change where they'll get back onto the floor again. Oh my gosh, how did I miss them? Alright. Anyway. But what they do is when they swim, they push the tiles behind them around, and it just gets really messy really fast. And it's really troublesome trying to push them when they're ahead of you. Unless if you get them right when they dive like this, so that's usually the goal. Alright, that went well. This next room has tended to be problematic for me lately, because I changed up the strat in which you would use here. See, one of the only other runners of this game would go to the bonus stage in the corner there instead of actually fighting any of these guys because they would just be so awful to fight that it wouldn't be worth it. But I ended up finding a good pattern right there that I luckily executed just right. And yeah, saves a lot of time over going to the bonus stage, and it was the only one that you would see in the run, but now it's not there anymore. But basically all that there is just a ton of stars everywhere, and you have to collect all of them to be able to leave. And it just takes a lot longer. I don't remember how much longer, but, you know, I'm not doing it, so. Yeah. These 5-second tiles just add more time, because when the time runs out, the AI gets really aggressive and comes, like, literally right at you most of the time. They're really hard to avoid. But, yeah. It's usually not a problem, though, in the run. And another 20 stages down. Alright. This is one of the most troublesome palaces in the run. These guys are called Mimis, and... or maybe it's Mimi. I don't really know the way it's supposed to be pronounced, but the joke is that they mimic you, so it's spelled M-I-M-I. This palace is really interesting, because the music and the enemies, they only play whenever you move, or do anything at all. And if you pay attention, they literally copy my B presses to flip stuff. Alright. This room is usually annoying. I have to improvise it every time, but that was okay. But yeah. There's at least 3 stages in this palace that are very inconsistent. No matter how hard I try, like, it's just very hard to get them to go the same way every time. Alright. I don't actually know what the different Mimi variants do. They're mostly the same to me, except these yellow ones that we might see here. They move a little faster, but I don't really know the difference between these red ones and the other ones. Also, dang. This is one of those inconsistent rooms. Sometimes that exact pattern I used on the, sometimes that exact pattern that I used to clear all of those tiles will not cause these ones to respawn, but other times they will, and I literally cannot figure it out. It's, like, very absurd. This is another troubling stage where there's not really too much inconsistent about it, really. It's just, I don't know, my execution is sometimes off. But it looks like it's going well, so no problems here. There's a ton of respawn tiles underneath everything, so if you let the Mimis flip them up, things get really bad really fast. And then this level is, well, just that. Really crazy. Now? Okay. That Mimi fight is a little tricky, because what she'll do is she turns you, Honey will turn you into a Mimi, and when you turn into one, you literally only move in whatever direction you're facing. And the easiest thing is to just turn right around and try to flip her immediately, because otherwise she'll just start shoving you down, and it's very difficult to fight her back. But, yeah. Anyways, we're on to the second to last palace, and this one is just a mix of all the other ones. These are usually harder than the ones that you would get in their own palaces, but most of these are just fine. I don't know. This one used to be troubling for me, but I figured out this good pattern. Oh no, I actually missed it. Alright then. Alright, no problem though. Yeah, it's very tricky because they're all jumping at a different point and trying to time them all on the same one tile. Not the hardest, but yeah, I can miss sometimes. These ballerinas are not challenging, though, which is good. These acrobats can be a bit annoying. What I'm trying to do is just to get them all to come into this space where I flip them. And sometimes they'll all come in together, and other times they'll come in one at a time, and it just, I don't know, I have to cycle through these panels on the floor. And it just takes a while when they all come in at a different point. Alright, good. Not really much to say about that swimmer section. Or this one. But this Mimi stage here is a little interesting. So I'm trying to get them all... Oh, no. I'm trying to get them all to come into the center so I can flip them into the side, because these are the only 3 flippable blocks in the room right now. Yeah, they definitely made this one a little tricky, because if you mistime it, the Mimis will push you out of the center instead, since they can flip too. But yeah. I wish I knew what this guy's name was. So now he's green. I don't know if he's a different character or what, but whatever. And this is just another cutscene, basically. There's nothing going on here. Just getting escorted by your sister to the sky for whatever reason, because that's where your girlfriend is, I guess. But I will say this is the most challenging palace coming up, because the enemies here are absolutely devilish. Like, their AI is still manipulatable, but they are the most annoying, because what these guys will do, they tried to make them smart. See, they won't try to get in front of you ever so that you can flip them, because they know what's going to happen, I guess. No. Okay. But they will try to approach you from the side at times, which is great, because then you can abuse that. But yeah, if you get in front of them, they'll just kick the floor at you, and it'll shove you around, and if you're between a bunch of them, they'll just shove you back and forth, and it's so maddening. Oh, okay, that was close. I've messed up the stage a few times and I died there, but that was good. See, the tricky thing, and something that actually helped me with running the rest of the game there, is that the very edge of the tile you stand on can be flipped, and that's very handy since these guys always try to get behind you. And honestly, without it, I think this game would probably be worse at this point, because it's just too nerve-wracking casually. And something dumb here, they made some of the last stages here harder on the US version. The next one we'll see when I get to it. Oh no. Alright. That's lame. That happens sometimes when you miss time your spin, I guess. But whatever. Easy backup there. This next room though, it doesn't exist in the Japanese version. And it is very unforgiving, so I definitely do not want to screw this up. And I didn't. See, what they did with this room, there's all these sun tiles, and then there's like layers and layers and layers of respawn tiles underneath it, and it's just so awful. Damn it. It's like, you'll try to kill them, and then it'll just keep coming, and coming, and coming, and it's just... I don't know who thought it was a good idea to put that in the game, but they really should never make a game again. Anyway, I'm pretty much at the end of the game now. The timing's gonna end when 20 hits the wall. Just gotta wait for her, and it's over. Alright. $23.28? That's pretty nice. Actually, you know what? Before I started running this a few months ago, the record was a 23:29. Yeah, I ended up lowering it by a bit over a minute, but it's really hard to play more precisely.